Well, you ready for our guest? Hi.
So we got John's going to be at the start.
Okay. You're letting us start?
Good.
Hello.
Good to see you, Chester King. How are you?
Doing well.
Good, good.
How are you? Doing good. How are you?
But you woke tonight, because I told you.
We're going to nab these answers.
Yeah. So much work that I need all my friends.
Yeah. No, that's I didn't like. I told her it was good.
Change his mind. Still possible.
Yeah, I am. You? There would be no stuff.
I did
You know what I'm talking about, don't
yeah, no, two, and then there's
you? Call the poll. It's fine.
yeah, I mean, like, as long as it's not, I don't think it's getting in the way. Yeah, exactly. So, very good chance. I can do
Does that work? Or are you going to like the light? Are you going to blind it? That's good.
Making sure we have enough chairs for all. I don't know which arm to use or like how to take it out.
Hello. Which I'll take
Whitewater is crazy. I got in a habit of being friends. Much safer now for all involved.
Time is 7 o'clock, and I call this section of the Whitewater Student Government to order. If you're able, please rise alongside me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Carter,
Present.
Senator Wolf,
Here.
Senator Irwin,
Present.
Senator Esterl, Senator Gross, present. Senator Gusloff,
Present.
Senator Houston,
Here.
Senator Tobin,
Present.
Senator Michael,
Present.
Senator Millett,
Here.
Senator Rodriguez,
Present.
Senator Purnell,
Present.
Senator Schmidt,
Present.
Senator Wheatman,
Present.
Speaker Wilson.
Present. And with that, it is my esteemed honor to recognize two folks in the gallery right now, two emeritus members of our organization, one being Jordan Robinson, Director Emeritus. And David McNeely, Director Emeritus. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, gentlemen. And with that, we will move a bit out of order. If you have an agenda with you, flip to page 2. We're going to go right to new business, starting with R242506, resolution honoring Dr. John Chenoweth for his commitment to students and legacy of success. Would Director Reiser, if you will, as well as Director Emeritus, you're welcome to head to the podium. I'll get the bill up for you, and then you folks have the floor.
Wait, you want us to sing this, right, I did?
Yep.
Yeah, it should be good. We've set it up.
Hello?
Pretty,
I,
if you hold it far away, they're weird today. So.
Okay. Okay. Well, hello everyone. So I'm Abby Reiser for anyone in the gallery, and then.
Hi, I'm Director Emeritus Dave McNeely. I served a few years ago.
So this bill here, which sorry, let me scroll to it, is honoring Provost Chenoweth for his years of service here. He was here for 23 years, and we're really sad to see him go, but the leadership that you've portrayed throughout these years has been really inspirational. I know I've been working with you since July of 2023 as the director here, and it's been really great to hear your insight on many of the things that I brought to you, like advising and career services. But last year in particular was the excused absence policy. So you were incredibly helpful in providing like your years of experience with tackling that. So I really appreciated that. And just overall our conversations, I always looked forward to getting to talk with you in our monthly meetings. And so really I just want to say thank you for all of the lessons I've learned, and it's been really great working with you.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to echo what Director Reiser said, but yeah, just thank you so much for your years of service, John. I've really appreciated everything you've done for us, from putting up with me when I was first in the director role and helping me learn through things and being there for us when we needed it most. You're someone who's been such an integral part of Whitewater for so long that while I'm super happy that you have this new opportunity, I'm going to be weird. It's a little, I'm going to be honest, it's a little weird, the thought of Whitewater not having you here in a good way. But no, definitely, I've really appreciated everything you've done for us. I've seen you stand up, make tough decisions. You've served way more calls to action than I think I've seen a lot of people in my life answer the call to. So I know one that really comes to mind is when Chancellor Henderson stepped down very quickly. It was really inspirational and really well appreciated that you served the call to action there. You stuck with us, and you just moved forward with it, and you cared so much about us. And I really appreciate everything you've done for us here. I think you've served as a great inspiration and role model for so many people here. And thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you accomplish next. Thanks.
So yeah, this bill really just recognizes that and our gratefulness for his leadership. So I'll just read the last line for everyone. It says, "Therefore, be it finally resolved, the Whitewater Student Government formally honors and expresses its deepest gratitude to Dr. John Chenoweth for his decades of dedicated service to everyone at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater and looks forward to his continued success and contributions across the universities of Wisconsin." So overall, like I said, this is just a summary of all of our thankful and appreciation for your work. So with that, yield to any questions or whatever's next.
With that, we will move on to questions. Director Reiser had it perfect. Are there any questions tonight for the submitters? Once, going twice, seeing none. Without moving to content changes, are there any content changes? Once, going twice, seeing none. Without moving to clerical edits, are there any clerical edits? Going once, going twice, seeing none. Without moving to discussion, is there any discussion tonight? Of which, Director Emeritus Robinson from the gallery.
Dr. Chenoweth, I would say, stand up.
Yeah, please. Please.
Dr. Chenoweth, I know we haven't agreed on everything, but the one thing I will say is that it's a pleasure to work with people who challenge your ideas, your ideology, your thoughts, your process. And wholeheartedly, I think the one thing that no one can ever take away from you is you truly lead purpose in life. And I think that that's an honor and something that's really, really valuable that stretches beyond anything. So I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors and hope to see you back soon.
This one. Before we move into any other discussion, I would like to say, I think Director Emeritus McNeely said it really perfectly. 2 years ago, when Doug, I, and Nick Patricus arrived on campus, one of the first faces we saw in admin was yourself. And I think he said it perfectly, right? It's hard to imagine a University of Wisconsin-Whitewater for myself without your leadership, without your presence. So thank you for your commitment to students. Thank you for everything you've done. It means a lot. And you're going to be extremely prepared to handle any challenges that come your way after this. And I'm sure there will be some. So there's no one more ready to handle them than you. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, I was looking to get a bill up this week, just so everyone in the room can understand what the legislative process is like. And opened my email, saw the news that Dr. Chenoweth is leaving us here soon, and thought, what a perfect opportunity. Actually, it was really easy to write this bill. Not that I love writing bills, but this one was exceptionally easy to write, just because it was just kept flowing, right? The words were very easy to put to paper.
To piggyback off of Nick, it was incredibly easy, but also difficult to figure out how we'd keep it on one page so we can present it to you after this vote. I think it's a credit to your character. When you look around the room and you see all who came out today, I sent one email after hours on Friday when it was finalized. This is going to go up, and you see how many of your peers and colleagues showed up. Because of you. It's because of the impact you've made in the lives of students. I remember coming to campus, and the first thing I heard was that you were a youth soccer coach, and somebody said, he was my coach. Dr. Chenoweth? So I thank you for all you've done. I'm glad to have worked with you and call you a colleague, but also a friend, and I'll never forget that Platteville basketball game we went to. And of course we won, because we're Warhawks. But thank you for everything. This is well-deserved, and so is your promotion.
Any other discussion from the gallery, Mr. Zimmerman?
Hi. Yeah, John, thank you so much. I think I would completely echo the sentiment of Deputy Speaker Patricus in saying that when I first got on campus, you were the first administrator I ever interacted with. And it was an incredibly surreal experience because I didn't feel like I was interacting with someone who is this powerful person. Everyone's like, wait, you talked to the coach, to John Chenoweth on the first day? I'm like, yeah, it was a great conversation, and I learned so much from you. And even though I've exited the student government space outside of SUFAC, I truly appreciate every interaction I have. You've done a lot for this campus as it shows. I think that's what 7 years great, so take too much of your time.
Is there any other discussion tonight? Going once? Going twice? See none? With that, I'll encourage every senator to vote an aye because there's no one more deserving of it in the room. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, would you please call the roll?
Senator Wolf.
Aye.
Senator Carter.
Proud aye.
Senator Irwin.
Aye.
Senator Esser. Senator Gross.
Aye.
Senator Getzlaff.
Aye.
Senator Houston.
Aye.
Senator Keldon.
Aye.
Senator Michael.
Aye.
Senator Miller.
Aye.
Senator Patricus.
Aye.
Senator Punzel.
Aye.
Senator Purnell.
Aye.
Senator Schmidt.
Aye.
Senator Wheaton.
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
A very proud aye. And with that, R 242506, the resolution honoring Dr. John Chenoweth for his commitment to students and legacy of success has passed unanimously. something a little unconventional. I'm going to call a quick 5-minute recess, or ask for a motion to call a quick 5-minute recess. We're going to do, if entertained, we're going to do a quick live bill signing. So can I get a motion for a 5-minute recess, Senator Carter?
A motion to have a 5-minute recess.
Seconded by Senator Wheatman. Can I get a voice vote? Any objections? Seeing none, we are in a recess. We'll come back at 7:16. John, if you'd like to come to the front, we'll have you sign the bill. We'll have you watch the sign.
There's fingerprints on it, I can't handwrite it.
You have a hammer.
We had some hard conversations this week. They were
And my sister a 1-year-old. It is the little. She's so small. Sleeps like an angel. She slept for 12 hours last night. My sister never got me up. Amazing. Oh my God, they know how to get her next wife is pregnant. I said, there's something very good.
No, I'm good. I mean, no.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And go.
Hold it up there, Doug.
Ready for you, Jan? We're ready for the foot. Ready for you to hammer this in. That way we can present it to them.
I've heard these are hard to bang.
This is why
We can.
it's a skill.
Yeah. You practice it 6 times. Is it all right?
I know, everybody's watching me hammer.
I did her with the VC candidates.
Of course, it doesn't line up.
Download. You figure out Russia?
Oh,
The camera, Doug.
cutting
Live action.
Perfect. All good? Perfect.
Well, you're a guest speaker, so we'll call it back to order.
Don't toss it.
Don't toss it.
Yeah, sit right there. If it's slightly crooked, I apologize. The pressure of pounding.
All righty, and 1 minute ahead of schedule. We are back to order at 7:15, and with that, we'll move kind of back into order, into guest speakers, starting with our very well-placed first guest speaker of the evening. For folks who are trickling out, thank you so much for joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you, and we will move into our first guest speaker, Provost Dr. John Buchanan. You have the floor, as long as you want.
Oh, never give me a mic. Bad idea. I used to be in a band.
back in the day. So I can sing a few novelty songs for you, Christmas songs, all kinds of good stuff. So I just want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate the words and appreciate all that you do every day. I got introduced into student government as I don't recall if I was a sophomore or junior. As I was listening, I thought you were just giving me a resolution because I'm old, as you were going through all this stuff. But sophomore or junior, I went to school at Augustana University in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And about the same time, I got my first introduction into university leadership because I was pegged to drive the president of Augustana University in the homecoming day parade. So I got to have Lloyd Svensby, that was his name. He sat in the back seat and I got to drive him around in the homecoming parade. So from there on, I've been on this leadership path, I guess, through the university. But just wanted to say again, thank you very much for all that you do. I appreciate every day I get to see you. Thank you to David. I work with David and Justin Westlake and Abby Reiser over the past year to keep things moving along in the academic space. As Abby said, the getting the excused absence policy in a format that met everyone's needs was quite a bit of work. So appreciate the long conversations around that to get something that I think really benefits our students, but is also meets the academic rigor that we all expect here at UW-Whitewater. And so I appreciate those. Just encourage you to keep doing the work that you're doing. I would remind you there's a word that says shared in the shared governance space. So I would encourage you to make sure that you're operating in a collaborative, shared way. I'd also remind you that it's about governance. And so as you reflect on bills and activities that you are in front of you is to try to understand if this is still in a governance space. I think that's a critical thing to remember. It's easy to get in a room and pass a bunch of stuff and then realize you've sort of stepped outside of your bounds. There's all sorts of avenues to get change on a campus. And so with student government, I think it's always important to remember that it's about governance. Lots of challenges and opportunities in front of us every day, but there's governance can only happen with this group, and so I would encourage you to hold on to those reins and make sure you're doing that and make sure you're doing governance work. And then, finally, a reminder, this is about students, and we would hope all of our governance groups are focused on students. Ideally, that's the way we operate, but just really encourage you to make sure that as you do your work, that you're focused on the students as a whole, and in particularly those that you don't often hear from. I think student governments in general is accessible to a population of students, and I would really, really encourage you to find ways to make sure that you're accessible to all students and they see being on student government or just being involved in sharing a student voice can be heard from those that were not involved in governance work in their high schools, were often voices that weren't heard in their own high schools, and then become voices that aren't heard at the university level either. And so I would encourage you to seek out new people to listen to and know that for almost every single issue in front of you, there are multiple perspectives. And you're best served if you've heard multiple perspectives before you get in the room. And so if everyone you're hearing from is telling you this is what we ought to do, then you need to go talk to some more people, because I can guarantee you on a campus with 10,000 plus students that not everyone shares the same perspective. And so I would encourage you to get out and make sure you're listening to everyone and serving students at the end, so you can be confident that at the end when you vote on something, that you're voting on behalf of the collective of students, not just the ones that are on your floor or that know you or whatever. So I'd encourage you to get out and about. And then I would encourage you to stay involved in this work the rest of your life. If you're part of a university forever, there's all sorts of other governance groups to join. But otherwise, in almost every place that you work, you'll have an opportunity to either do this sort of work or to do leadership work. And I would encourage you, as you start your careers, to take on those opportunities. Some of you probably weren't sure if you wanted to get involved in this work, and hopefully you're enjoying yourself and getting some leadership opportunities, but know that employers are looking for you to engage in this sort of activity for them as well. So I'll shorten my 2-hour speech down to that. I really just came to hear about the calendar today, so thank you all very much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, John. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for everyone stopping by. Before we move any further, it is my absolute pleasure to announce an emeritus member, another one, President Emeritus, Davin Strapopoulos. Please. Stavropoulos. Have I nailed it?
It's okay.
There we go. And with that, we'll move on to our second guest speaker, the University Registrar, Heather Sherman.
You do? Okay. You've heard it. I'll let that rowdy crowd go. That was going to be a tough room. Like, all the PhDs are leaving.
Sorry.
Sorry. You put it wherever you're comfortable.
There we go. I can walk the floor around.
Yes, you can.
Well, thank you for inviting me today. I think our office is always like the hidden office because we don't see you all anymore. Everything's electronic. So we only see you when you have a real issue. So this is kind of fun for me. Every year, the Academic Calendar Committee looks at a calendar, and this year it's the 26-27 calendar, and we bring it to all the governance groups just to share it, hear your comments. You don't necessarily have to vote on it. If you want to, you can. But the final approval is cabinet. But anyway, I get to go around and visit everybody on this one. This one was a little bit different. First, I will remind everybody there is a state statute that prohibits us from beginning classes until after September 1. So that's always the first question I get. And I would say when I was an undergrad at another UW, we started in August. So I find this to be a challenge. But anyway, so this calendar is pretty well balanced on teaching days. Between fall and spring, that's always a challenge for us. But this time we made it work out a little bit better, so you all have some opportunities to have more class time. I know you're excited. And because of that, starting on the Wednesday and having the 2 days for Thanksgiving, or 3 days, 3 days, whatever we do. This gives us an opportunity to have that first half session end on a Friday. And I know it's really hard to end those half sessions on a Tuesday. But in the fall of 26, it'll end on a Friday. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. It's kind of always the same. It just depends on when the dates fall in the particular years we're looking at. But I am open to hear your questions, comments, whatever you want to talk about with the calendar.
With that, we'll move into questions. And I know you said nothing too big has changed. My only question would be, are there, in terms of the student perspective, are there any super notable changes besides the start that we should be worried about or messaging to students, anything like that?
No, really, it's following the same, I want to say structure. Yeah, that's a good word. Thanks, Jan. Structure. It's kind of pretty lockstep. Really, the calendars rotate. And when a big change happens, we didn't have the half term end in the middle of a week because we started right after Martin Luther King Day. So that was the last big change we had, is to start the week after. So, and start on a Monday. That was the last big change that we had, and that was with Chancellor Henderson. So otherwise, we're status quo as far as the structure of the calendar. Again, it's the calendar dates themselves that dictate kind of how it falls.
Are there any other questions? No. And once, and twice, seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Appreciate your
We'll
time.
let you know when we vote on it and we'll
Okay.
send it back to you. And
Okay.
thank you so much for letting us know a little bit about it.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Now come visit our office.
It's in Roseman.
All of you will be receiving the academic calendar in your email in a moment. So if you have any questions, you can forward them to me and I will forward them to Heather, or if you want to go directly to her, that is all right as well. Send the ball.
Apologies for the case out of order. Where can one find the office?
It's in Roseman. Oh, yep.
In Rose.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And with that, we will move on to our third guest speaker, Director Emeritus, Stuart Robinson. You have the floor. You're welcome to come up and speak at the podium.
I'm sorry, I was standing there. Should've told John.
All right. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
So, like Isaiah said, Director Emeritus Jordan Robinson. So, I've been asked a couple times to come speak, and I've kind of hesitated on the opportunity for a while. What I wanted to talk about today was something that I think is pretty important. And I think that it's something that is extremely valuable to this space. I would challenge everybody in the room to go on a little journey. So 4 years ago, 3 years ago, this room looked completely different. You got Will Henson right there, Chase Zimmerman sitting somewhere in there, Isaiah Wilson, Doug Bradley somewhere over there being ambitious, Jordan Robinson just talking the talk, and Davin sitting the same way he is today with his arms crossed, like, look at them. Right? The room looked a lot different. But I think in the room looking a lot different, the thing that hasn't changed is the purpose of this organization and the power that is held in this room. There are students that don't look like you. There are students that do look like you that are concerned about if they're even going to be able to be a student next year. There are students who possibly feel unsafe. There are students who may just need a friend. That's the power that this room, this organization, and the people before you have created for you to have an opportunity to have that seat at the table. Jan's been here a long time. I'm not going to age her, but she'll tell you, students always didn't have that open seat at the table the way that they do now. So it's not about having a seat at the table. It's not about wearing a name tag. It's about what you do with the opportunity. It's about what you do with the opportunity. There's so much power. There's so much space in this room to do so many magnificent things. During my first term, when I got the opportunity to be the associate director of student affairs, the motto that the cabinet was given was "Go big or go home." When I'm the wrong person to tell that to. I swung for the fences, right? I swung for parking. I swung for the dean of students. I swung for everything that I could stick my nose in and improve to better the life of somebody who didn't look like me. I did it. I sat at this very podium my second week as a director and worked to get free menstrual products in the James R. Conner University Center for those who may need them. Right? It's about thinking outside of yourself and what are you doing for somebody else. This room is powerful when used correctly. The other thing that I would say, and I'll leave you with this. This room is only as powerful as the trust that the Senate and the directors share amongst each other. I'm gonna repeat that because I think it's really important. This room is only as powerful as the trust between directors and the Senate. So if there's no trust between the two, there's no work being done. If there's no work being done, there are people, there are students, there are people being hurt. There are people who are not getting what they need. There are people who college is their safe space away from the situations that's not ideal at home. This room has that opportunity to fight for them and vouch for them. When I got here 3 years ago, before the Student Life Advancement Act, it was pretty expensive to have any fun at Whitewater's campus. You know who made a change? This room. All the signs that you see on Stanton Road didn't always used to be that safe. You weren't always visible on that road. You didn't have 4 stop signs going one way. You know who changed that? This room. So when you band together and, in the middle of probably one of the craziest times in our history, right? You know who hosted the Unity Walk? WSG and BSU. This room. It don't take much to come up with an idea, execute the idea, get the right people at the table, and move forward on that idea. But the name badge and the placard gotta come off, and you gotta be Jordan Robinson. You gotta be Logan Carter, not Senator Logan Carter, the person. Get back to humanizing each other. Get back to valuing the work over the title or the prestige, because the work is what gives the title the prestige. So I'll leave you with that. I'm excited to watch from afar the things that are done in this space over the next couple of weeks, over the next semester. But if anybody has any questions, I'm pretty open to taking some questions while I got some time. I actually encourage you to ask some questions. I wouldn't let this opportunity kind of pass you by.
Well, there's some questions. Anyone have any questions? I mean, I can start.
Go ahead.
You talk a lot about that trust. In your time, what did that trust look like? How did it allow you to trusting your peers as directors, trusting the Senate, how trusting admin? Can you talk about how trust and transparency allowed you to gain emeritus status and do all the great things you did?
For sure. I think emeritus status is a great accolade to have. I think it's a great thing to list on my resume, but I would have never got it if I didn't have the support of my president, my VP, my cabinet. Without them, I was nothing, right? Like, it was a lot of days where we were in that office until 11 o'clock working on parking. It was a lot of days where I had to call a tag partner who had nothing to do with WSG, like Chase, who knew way more about finances and way more about SUFAT than I did. It was a whole bunch of times where I had to call Abby Reiser and be like, Abby, look, this is my issue, but I think this ties to academic affairs. How can we work together to make this work? It was a lot of times where I had to lean on Jack Fadness, who was the former speaker, and say, Jack, I need your help. How can you support me? Give me 2 senators that can come along on this journey that you trust, that we're going to make this happen. It was a lot of times where I had to call on Tessa Wolfington, Owen Russell, before I could even think about acting on anything that I was trying to do. Because without the senators to sponsor the legislation, it wasn't a legislation. And I'm not a person of, I just want you to put your name on my piece of ledge. I want you to understand what your name is on. So that's a process. It's a mentality. It's a commitment to the development of the person in the work. Those things kind of coincide. But if there's a lack of trust between that director and that senator, it'll never work. But I appreciate the question. Anybody else?
Any other questions?
Here we go.
What was your favorite moment in WSG?
My favorite moment in WSG. Jeez. You know, my favorite moment in WSG wasn't even my accomplishment. I think my favorite moment in WSG was probably seeing excused absence be passed. And the reason why I say that is because that was something that I've known has been worked on since way before my time by older people, way older than me. Like, we talking like retired vets, right? So sorry, I like to have a little fun. I'm sorry. So, but yeah, like, so I know how hard that was. I know how much of a process that was. I know how much, like, I was there watching Abby try and have conversations, have one-on-one. Like, I watched it from my student affairs hat, and I felt like I was drowned in work. But I'm looking over there like, man, like, she killing it. So, like, to see that finally get passed and to see that it was an accomplishment, not just for Abby, but for the organization and all the people that came before her, it was something that was, like, super dope, super beautiful to see for me. And it just showed me the power of this space and evolution when you work collaboratively, when you get leadership that believes in you, that gets on the same page and have conversations. I think one of the most important things Dr. Chenoweth said was when you have so many different conversations with so many different people, the argument that you come with it's a great argument.
Senator Calvin?
Of your many accolades and actions on this campus, what was the single most impactful action you did as a part of Whitewater student government, and why was it the most impactful action?
I yield to President Bradley.
What? Your question, my friend. I yield back to.
That's hard.
I mean, there's so many.
It's hard. That's
So many that involve so many more than just oneself.
You asked me a tough question. Okay, if I had to narrow it down to one that I think means the most to me, I would probably say intersectional programming. I would probably say that, and I would only say that because it showed me the commitment from not only the university but this room, student activities and involvement to serve those who still needed to be served, even though it was literally being said not to do that work anymore. So I thought that was probably the most important thing to me, and to be able to see what the position has come, be able to see Yadira thrive in the role and continue to elevate the role and it's only a 2-year-old role, so being able to see what Ramsey brought and seeing what Yadira, and then the conversation that we're having today about that same position, about how it's gonna grow and who we're bringing to campus, I think that was probably the most personal impactful, but I think the most impactful for the student body, I would probably have to say parking. I would probably have to say parking. Parking, taking a customer service approach, I think is something so valuable, and I think the trust that not only myself but our cabinet and the cabinet after me, the trust that we have in Dale and what he's done with the bookstore. I'm excited to see 6 years from now what parking looks like when he actually gets some time in it and gets his feet wet. So I would say parking impacted the students the most. My personal favorite was intersectional programming for sure. I appreciate the question.
Director Emeritus McNeely?
I was going to ask, obviously you've done a lot across our campus here, been with us for quite a bit. Is there a piece of advice that you wish you could have told your younger self that you think would help to share with everyone?
You said a piece of advice that I would, say it one more time.
A piece of advice that you would have shared with your younger self now that you've been here for so long, done so much.
The number one piece of advice that I would share with myself, shoot for the stars and don't put a limit on yourself. I think a lot of times, a lot of us be like, oh, this is a stupid idea. This is a dumb idea, or how am I gonna implement? It's not on you to figure out the why. That ain't your job. Your job is to bring the idea. Your job is to do the research, to do the homework, to do the background. It's not your job to figure out why, how, what. When we first started our parking journey, I had no idea what I was doing. But Jackie sat right next to me with his finance background and said, we need to do this map, this map, this map, and this map. And I'm like, this is too many numbers. But if it's gonna get the work done, let's do it. Advisor Billigan, make the PowerPoint so Jordan can understand, right? So I would say shoot for the stars and don't be afraid to challenge the systems that no longer serve you. That's probably the biggest advice that I would give to anybody is the needs of our students in 2020 are no longer the needs of our students in 2025. So don't be afraid to challenge those systems, and the worst that they can do is say no. If you're scared to hear no, you're not ready for the yes.
Very powerful, George. Senator Carter?
Going back on your thing about trust between senators and directors, for anybody that's new in here, can you just emphasize how big committees are and how big committee work is for senators and the?
Oh, for sure. I think in my background, I think committees are always an interesting topic of discussion because I think that there is such a there's such a large scale of what a committee is and how a committee should effectively be used, right? So I think it's important to really build a relationship and build a level of trust with that director, but also by understanding that the director is the content expert. So if you go to a director or you go to Doug or President Bradley, Vice President Bang, you go to them, right? They're the content expert in their field. So whether you agree or disagree with them, the knowledge that they have is the fact. And there's a difference between a fact and an opinion. What I would say to you is asking how you can be a contributor, but the biggest way a senator can build trust with a director is if you tell somebody you want to do the work, actually do the work. If you say, this is what I want to be a part of, I want to be in this role, and you get a task, complete it. Complete it. I think the most disappointing part for the hardest part about a director is, I know when I was a director, I looked at my work like my baby, right? Like, that was my baby. I was passionate about it. I cared about it. That was something that I really, really held dear to my heart. And for me, it was already hard enough to entrust somebody else to do the job. And then it hurt even worse for somebody to show me that they didn't care about the job by not completing it. You can tell me you care, but if your action doesn't back that showing, I'm gonna go off the action in what you showed me. So then when it comes time for me to actually need you, you've already shown me that you can't help me. Does that make sense? So it's a double-edged sword, right? The directors have to give the work, but the senators also have to complete the work. So I think that's where the establishment of trust is defined best, is there has to be a task given and then completion of the work. And then moving forward from that director is gonna respond accordingly to what they receive. And the last thing I would say is just be kind. It's free, it's cheap, don't cost you no money. Just be nice. There's nothing wrong with walking up to Jan Billigan, or Advisor Billigan, I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong with walking up to Advisor Billigan with a smile and just smiling. It's free. But you don't know what Jan got going on at home. So I'll leave you with be kind.
Any other questions? I have a question. President Emeritus.
Basic one, but I think Jordan's the right person to ask this question too. What does this group do? What's it here for?
Say it again.
What does this group do? What's it here for? Like, what is its purpose?
As a whole?
As a whole.
Okay, I gotta clarify. What does this group do? What, man, why do I get all the tough questions? But this group, in short, I'm gonna do a sentence from the forum. This group, in short, it serves those who can't serve themselves. It serves those who may feel like they can't speak up, don't know how to speak up, don't know what to do, aren't able to pick up the work, aren't able to do the work. It encompasses everybody. It encompasses the student body. And I think it's so important to go get the perspective of somebody who we all have multiple identities, right? And just a quick overview of identities. I'm a black male, right? I would always go get the opinion of somebody who doesn't look like me. White woman, Hispanic woman, Hispanic male, white male, somebody who I don't identify with, because that's the perspective that I don't have. And it's okay that I don't have that perspective because that's not my identity. But the willingness to go and learn that perspective is what's so important. But for time purposes, that's all I got for today. If anybody has any questions for Jordan, I'm pretty accessible. Somebody on the e-board can get in contact with me, I think. Jan knows where to find me, but if anybody has any other questions, I'll be around for a little bit.
Thank you so much. What an amazing career for speakers. Thank you so much, Jordan. If you ever want time, just come on back, all right?
Huh?
If you ever want time to speak, we'd love having you, all right? With that, we will move back into order. Starting with special orders, we'll start with the appointment of one Esker district seat. Is there anyone in the gallery tonight interested in running for an Esker district seat? Once or twice? See none. Wonderful. With that, we'll move to the appointment of one Drumlin district seat. Is there anyone in the gallery tonight interested in running for a Drumlin district seat? Or once or twice? See none. Wonderful. With that, we'll move to the appointment of 7 off-campus district seats. Is there anyone in the gallery tonight interested in running for an off-campus district seat? All right, we've seen one. Welcome to Rise. As you walk to the front, please recite your name to the Vice President and ensure that it's spelled correctly first and last.
Alaric Keebler, ALARIC, KEEBLE. Make sure it looks good to you. Looks there.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You'll have 3 minutes to tell us a little bit about your name and major and why you want to be the next off-campus Senator of the Whitewater Student Government.
You guys have already talked to me before. I was here last week. I'll preface it by saying I did get my signatures, but I was late on turning them in, so that's on me. But cybersecurity, freshman. 3 years in the military so far, hopefully 20. Off campus, I live off campus, like I said, it makes sense. I'm really just rambling now because you guys have already heard this before. That's all I got.
All right, wonderful. With that, we'll move into questions. Any questions now? Senator Puzzle?
All right. What would you describe your leadership style in a Senate setting? Like, what do you bring to the table of student government that none of us bring?
That's very good questions. New ideas is probably the main thing I could think of being a freshman. And, hopefully bringing something new to the table that maybe someone hasn't thought of. But other than that, I don't have the experience that, say, any of you do. So honestly, I'll be honest, probably not that much. But I'm willing to learn and figure out what I can do to help.
Any other questions? Dr. Mastreri?
What leadership experiences have you had?
I did some work as a line leader in the military for a while, so that's like your more upper position. You're really in charge of like 5 people, usually. Trying to get through. The main one was we went down into Louisiana for a month total. It was a week of offloading things off trains, and then about 2.5 weeks living in the woods, not sharing anything. Like, it was really good. It sucked. Lost 20 pounds that week. It's really hot in Louisiana. Don't go there. I never want to go back. That I also did student government in high school. That was a good time. Also officer in SOC, but that's about it that I can think of off the top of my head.
What would you say your biggest lesson learned from those leadership experiences are?
It isn't what I want. Sometimes it's what the people want, even if it doesn't exactly align with what I'm thinking. Listening to them, really just actually learning from what they're saying, not just kind of pushing it aside.
Any other questions? Senator Purnell?
If you could change one thing on campus with no issues, no roadblocks, what would it be?
Sorry, DoorDash.
On campus? Honestly, I'm running for the off-campus purely because if I can get off campus at the end of the day, I prefer to do that, to beat traffic and stuff like that. But on campus, mainly just the sidewalks. Like, this is the most wheelchair accessible UW school, is it not? And a lot of times I'm walking, I'm like, if I was in a wheelchair, could I really get around this? So I think it's kind of bogus that they kind of just, some places aren't even that good. I almost look like 5 pounds. So.
It's dangerous out there. I have one other question, if we don't have any others. If you were a tool in a toolbox, too big.
Measuring tape. Because anything can be an error.
Wonderful, wonderful. Any other questions? Last call, going once. President Maris.
If time, money, and labor were no object, what would you change about campus?
Set time, money, and labor.
Or no object.
Oh. Free college.
And with that, as we only have one candidate running, we will call roll. A vote of aye will be a vote in favor of the candidate. A vote of nay will be a vote against. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, could you please call the roll?
Senator Bolt.
Aye.
Senator Carter.
Aye.
Senator Irwin.
Aye.
Senator Gross. Aye. Senator Gutsoff.
Aye.
Senator Houston.
Aye.
Senator Calvin.
Aye.
Senator Michael. Senator Miller.
Aye.
Senator Patricus.
Aye.
Senator Punzel.
Aye.
Senator Purnell.
Aye.
Senator Schmidt.
Aye.
Senator Wheaton.
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
Aye. And with that, I vote 14-0. Congratulations. And we are now to the appointment of 2 Rock County District seats. Is there anyone gathered tonight interested in running for a Rock County District seat? Going once, going twice, seeing none. With that, we're back in order. On approval of the agenda and minutes, we'll start with the minutes from February 17th, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve? Senator Carter?
Motion approved.
Seconded by Senator Bull. With that, can I get a voice vote?
Acclamation.
Any objections? Hearing seeing none, minutes have been approved. With that, we're on to the agenda for February 24th. I have one. I would ask for unanimous consent to add Director Emeritus Jordan Robinson as the item C for guest speakers, if possible. I'm asking for unanimous consent. Any objections? Seeing none, make. With that, we move on to the agenda for February 24th, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve? Senator Wheaton.
Motion to approve.
Seconded by Senator Gross. Can I get a voice vote?
Acclamation.
Any objections? Seeing none, the agenda for tonight has been approved unanimously. With that, we're on to student issues and concerns. Are there any student issues and concerns in the gallery tonight? Hello, hello. Welcome, please rise. For those who have never seen a student issues and concerns go down, which I believe is a lot of the body.
Sorry, I come up to this.
Please, please. The time is yours. You'll get 3 minutes. You can talk uninterrupted about anything that doesn't appear on the agenda tonight. Don't worry, I'll give you a little warning at, say, about 2 minutes, just so you know. We won't move into any questions, but you're welcome to come in subsequent weeks and talk about anything that might be on the agenda.
Good evening, council and directors and staff, anyone else involved. I'm here to speak a little bit just on some food discussions, some things that my roommate and I and some other people have showed frustrations on, and think that maybe we should all be taking into consideration. My roommate goes from class from 11 to 4. He has a huge big lab, and generally he goes to work right afterwards from 4 to 8. And we generally only have one swipe to use for outside of dining halls. He generally doesn't have time to go for a 15-minute period to go eat at the dining hall or grab a takeout food without being late to either one of his work or to his class. Something I think that we should try to advocate is for hopefully the double swipe again like we had in the previous time. I also had this for the first 2 weeks where I had 3 classes in a row from 9:30 all the way till 2. And on one of the days, I also had a commitment where I go to Madison and have to come back, so I could not have breakfast beforehand to my 9:30 class. And it really left me in a rough spot where I could only subsequently get roughly a sushi from the UC without being able to go to Herbs and Gerbs and get like a sandwich or something a little bit more filling without having some issues. Something I just wanted to raise a huge concern about and maybe to think about bringing back if possible or raise concern for it. Another big thing is possibly my roommate and I have gone to dinner times at beginning and ends. Once went to dinner at 4 o'clock. Everything was fine. He went to dinner approximately 6:30 at the dining hall and ended up with the complete opposite of mine. I had mushrooms, cheese, and bread. He had burnt bread that was black with little cheese and no mushrooms. So maybe some more issues that the food provider needs to work on as we sort out the kinks throughout the days. Just wanted to raise this to everybody. And hopefully we can push towards something to help us all out and think a little bit about those outlier students that maybe don't have the time to necessarily go to a dining hall so that maybe they could have the 2 swipes again and maybe be able to get something subsequent enough to last them through the whole day. That is all I have. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. We always appreciate having the food issues and concerns we voiced. Thank you so much for coming. I know it's not always easy, so thank you so much. Make sure the concerns get to the relevant stakeholders. If you want to come back, 3 minutes is yours.
Thanks.
Alrighty, with that, we will move on to reports, starting with external committee reports, of which we have none, internal committee reports, of which we have none, and then officer reports, and the report of our president, Mr. Douglas Allen Bradley III.
My goodness, Jordan, this is awfully low. I encourage you all to read the meetings I had last week. They're in the packet for reasons you can read them. I don't have to share them all with you. This week, I want to fill you in a little bit about the Vice Chancellor's Student Affairs Search. I have a couple meetings every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and a meeting Thursday morning. First at 9 a.m., the Search and Screen Committee interviews the candidate. Later on, I think noon or so, I host a lunch with a few students. If you're a student who's not going to be on the lunch, show me your hand. And Trank, he's on a lunch. And then there's an open forum. We had one today, one tomorrow, one on Wednesday. Those are in Timmerman, 2:30 to 3:30. Highly encourage you to attend those. You can learn a little more about the candidate. Obviously, there's book club this week. Thank you. The cabinet will be meeting again. The Search and Screen will meet on Thursday morning as well. And the Chancellor's Leadership Council, which is a whole bunch of folks. I can get you a list of who's on there if you're interested. We'll be meeting 9 a.m. Friday. Those are all my reports for this upcoming week. Sorry I don't have a photo for you all. I didn't get the photo of us at Jan's house last week in time, but maybe next week. So you remember. But that I'll yield.
Well, any questions for President? Senator Carter?
Isn't the open forum actually 1:30 to 2:30?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Deputy Speaker, which, never mind. Any other questions? Once, twice. Seeing none. With that, we move on to the report of our Vice President, Mr. Parker Bailey.
Awesome. Good evening, y'all. Last week, we get the microphone here. Last week I was able to attend a dining focus group meeting. That was very productive. And we actually did talk about bringing back the devil's sweat, so it's funny you brought that up tonight. But in addition to that, I met with a few of our directors, President Bradley, and I got a plaques in from American Wars Apparel. So more from that, we put those up in the office later on this week. But for this week, I'll be meeting with Directors Cowan, Balstreri, and Linneman. I'll be meeting with our very own Clerk West, Advisor Bilgan, and I will be continuing to collaborate with Parliamentarian Irwin on our outreach events and scripts. Another reminder, I went to book club last week. It was very productive. But a reminder for this week, that'll be happening Wednesday at 2 p.m. in UC 266 for anyone who's interested. And with that, I'll yield to my report.
Any questions for the Vice President? Once, twice. Seeing none. Wonderful. With that, we move on to the report of our governor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a couple of quick things. We talked last week about reaching out to folks and letting them know about the open Senate seats. So glad that we were able to have someone join the ranks. this evening, but just want to encourage you all that there are more seats to be had, so please help spread that word. Had a couple meetings this week, one specifically about setting up the NALT review and SUFAC review of the segregated fee policy that will be happening this semester, as well as assisting President Bradley in bringing the SGAE board and the WSG board together. I would also just like to share with you that all the summer and fall positions that are open for the University Center are currently available, so I would encourage you to apply if you'd like to talk to someone about what it's like to work in the University Center. For those of you who work for the UC, would you raise your hands at this time so they know who to talk to? It can be fun, and you get paid, and it's a great thing for you to think about. If you want to know more information, all of the available and positions for the UC are on the application, which is off of the UC website. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I will yield to questions.
Any questions for our advisor tonight? Well, once or twice seeing none, with that, we'll move into e-board reports, starting with the report of our Director of Academic Affairs, Andrew Rice.
Good evening, everyone. So last week I had a STELIC student messaging meeting, and so there we discussed that the pilot group, which again, that's accounting and elementary education, they got their communication, so they got email about next steps because they will be using STELIC this semester, but everyone else is just using WINS. And then also during the advising meetings this semester, there will be like little sheets on the advisors' desks that will have like a little teaser about STELIC coming next fall. So pay attention to that, and then there will be digital signage going out after registration, and registration this year is April 7th through the 18th. So that was a productive meeting. I had an advising meeting. There we discussed the plan for the next survey that will go out in April. The next meeting is when we're going to be analyzing the results from this previous semester. And then I also had a meeting with Provost Chenoweth and Jackie Briggs, as well as Speaker Wilson and Deputy Speaker Patrikas, where we discussed commencement and transcript fees and trying to consolidate that. So we will keep you updated on the progress with that. And then this week I have some stuff with career services. So I have a meeting with Pilar Joseph and Brian Bredesen. They are both career advisors. Josh, I am talking about marketing. And then I also have a meeting with Dean Vick. And then tomorrow at 8 a.m., the Academic Affairs Committee is meeting. So look forward to that. I know it's early, but again, that's the only time that everyone is free. So with that, I yield to any questions.
Any questions for Director Isaac? Going once? Going twice? Seeing none. Wonderful. With that, we will move on to the report of our Director of Student Affairs, Bill.
Happy fifth week, y'all. Not to freak anybody out, but that is a third of the way through the semester.
Oh, Jesus.
So recap of last week, I attended the Chancellor's Student Advisory Council meeting. I had the first internal Student Affairs Committee meeting, which went really well. I met with Dale Penzino to discuss parking concerns. Participated in the Dean of Students and Vice Chancellor search and screening. I attended the book club on Wednesday, which is phenomenal. It was great. We'll be doing that again this week. And I had dinner at Jan's house with the e-board, which Jan, again, thank you for having us. So this upcoming week, I'll be meeting with Terry Tombrello to discuss housing concerns and questions. I'll be meeting with Fabio to go over some dining questions and concerns. Again, I'll be attending the book club, which is amazing. Thank you, Douglas, for running that. Let's see what else. And then just working on some ongoing projects I got going on, continuing to work on that. And with that, everybody, have a great week. Hope it goes well. Let me know if you need anything, and I yield.
Wonderful. Any questions for Dr. Balstra?
From the gallery. When it comes to parking, what's the overall worry from the students? If you could summarize it up pretty quickly. Do not take time.
Well, I can't say that every single student. During the internal committee that we had last week, one of the things that was discussed is potentially, or an idea that was brought up is, could we make the parking permits universal, so then everybody could just park wherever if they bought a parking permit. So that was a question and a concern that I brought up to Dale And then we just discuss about it for an hour. I can't quite say what we're going to do with that quite yet, but the concern was brought up.
Any other questions?
Is that if I bring up one more follow? Is there any plans, until like that's confirmed, in the meantime, is there any plans to make it more, I do parking, I am on the parking team. So I've done it and a lot of students are always questioning the rules. They never really know where to go for the rules. Is there any plan to make that more available with like a QR code to go around or something that's more appealing than trying to go through all the subsequent websites and wins just to find the rules? A lot of people are always confused and never know where to go to find it.
Well, what you just said is phenomenal feedback, and I'll make sure I bring that up to Dale, so thank you.
Wonderful. Any other questions for Director Gosdrack? Once or twice, seeing none. Wonderful. With that, we'll move to the report of our Associate Director of Student Affairs, Dave Cotton.
Congrats on making it through the 4th week. Hope you guys hit the ground running in the 5th week. Let's do great. And last week I attended the Chancellor Student Advisory meeting with President Bradley, Senator Carter, and Director Balistreri. Attended the Student Affairs Committee meeting, and I want to remind all senators that you can attend any committee meeting as an audience. And I highly encourage that. If you have interest in it and any ideas, I highly recommend reaching out to your directors and finding out where committee meetings are, when they are. As well as everyone, if you have an opportunity on Wednesday, should go to book club. It has been great, it is fantastic, and it's great for professional development, 110%. This week, I am having a one-on-one with Vice President Pinu, and going to having another Student Affairs Committee meeting, as well as attending SUPAC and Cabinet meeting. I will yield to my report.
Wonderful. Any questions for Director Cotton? Once, seeing none, we will move into the report of our Director of Government Affairs, Ron Smith.
Hello everyone, please forgive my tardiness. My senior capstone class goes till 7:30 usually, and because it's 25% day, could not leave early this week. Last week I had a one-on-one with Chief of Staff Gabby Drawley, one-on-one with VP Bain. I had the WSG meeting, of course. Met about the outreach event, and I had City Council this week. Of course, the WSG meeting, Cabinet, office hours, and the EEC. I would like to disclose I'm going through a lot in my personal life right now, so if I'm late getting back to you for any reason, please give me some grace and patience, but also give me a nudge. Please don't be afraid to spam me a little bit. So campus and community updates. University Health and Counseling Services is holding a shoe drive for their Soul Survivor campaign that will be part of It's On Us. If you have a pair of shoes that you don't run anymore, you can bring them to UHCS and donate them for that program. And that'll be all the way through April, so you've got some time. The League of Women's Voters is holding a City Council candidate forum at the Whitewater Municipal Office on Saturday, this coming Saturday, March 1st, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. The next election is April 1st, and if you're interested in getting involved with a city, commission, or board, please let me know. I yield to the show.
Wonderful. I would like to start the question if possible. What is 25% yet?
My capstone, we should be 25% done with our city project today.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Quick question. The April 1st election, is that for the police and fire referendum that was mentioned at last meeting?
That referendum, as well as the school board referendum, will be on that ballot, as well as a number of other things. The school district will be presenting next week about their referendum.
Any other questions? Once, going twice. Seeing none, with that, we'll move to the report of our Director of Communications. Explain.
Okay. Good evening, you all. I want to start off by wishing everyone the best of luck with their upcoming midterm exams for the next 2 weeks. I don't know about you guys, but I'm slammed this week with midterm exams, and it's horrible. Okay, so last week I was here again to talk about marketing tactic ideas for future outreach events. I also, Clerk West and I, we created a photo circle album for WSG. So if anyone is interested in joining it, please come up to either one of us. We'd be more than happy to add you guys to it or answer any questions that you guys have for it. This week, I have a one-on-one with Vice President Bain, and then starting to construct new post ideas for this upcoming March. And then lastly, I'm making logos for It's On Us campaign. So, may I answer any questions? Thank you.
Officially passing the gavel to Deputy Speaker Patrice.
Any questions on the vote?
What is a photo circle album?
So a photo circle album, I don't know if you ever heard of like Swish either. Okay, so basically it's kind of, you could just say it's kind of like a Google Drive, but it's an easy way to upload any type of photos that you guys want. And I thought it'd be better to have that type of, I guess, album we can say than a Google Drive, because then we can get like more personal photos of everyone, including the Senate, for me to be able to post on different platforms for you guys. So, yeah.
Rapunzel, did you?
I lost my train of thought, Deputy Speaker.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we move into the report of our WC clerk, Ms. Sadie West.
Great. Hey y'all. Last week I went to book club, did my usual stuff, and this week, earlier today, like 2.5 hours ago now, the elections committee met for first meeting, which is when we elected the vice chair to be Chase Zimmerman and the secretary to be Director Emeritus Jordan Robinson. Our next meeting is going to be in 2 weeks on March 10th at 5:30 p.m. again, right before the Senate meeting. And then I will also be going to book club again and still doing my usual stuff. With that, I yield.
Alrighty. Any questions for Sadie West? President Emeritus Staff Rockles?
Yeah, well, what the hell is book club?
Let's talk after, because we can talk for hours.
Shell org?
Connections are everything.
It's not Fight Club.
It's through the Learn Center. Leading a book club with Wilkie Minagi. Connections are everything. It's a student version of Relationship Rich Education by Peter Felton.
Oh.
There you go. It's clicking. Book club.
Mr. Stavropoulos, would you like the connection on that?
No,
Alright. Any other questions? Seeing none, we can move to the report of our Senate parliamentarian, Mr. Blake Irwin.
Hello all. First of all, I sincerely apologize for not submitting a report. Last week I attended various committee meetings, met with Vice President Bain to continue our collaboration on scripts. That was actually today. Met with President Bradley for a few hours, and that was about it. This upcoming week, it's mostly just continuing to attend my different committees. The one thing I wanted to mention in my report was that we have a new QR code. The old one stopped working. The free QR code service I used was no longer free. This one is the modified version that's going through Connect now, addressing one of the early concerns about the new outreach event. And I will pass these out after I finish my report. On the same subject, your first outreach event is due this upcoming Sunday, March 2nd at midnight. Because the form was down for a few days, I will be further reducing the number required to just 10. Nearly one a day, just over. So please complete that by this Sunday. The following week, I will meet with everyone who completed the outreach event to gather their feedback on it, and then based on that feedback, I will make proposals for any proposals to change the program on the meeting following this the deadline. That is March 10th. So March 2nd, outreach event is due. Following week, meetings with everyone who completed the outreach event. March 10th, discussion on the floor of the Senate about possible changes to the parameters of the outreach event. And you just have to complete 10 of them by this Sunday at midnight. Thank you. Yield to questions.
Senator Gross?
I have a question. So as the QR code was down, I had a couple students try to fill it out. What should I do with those students who tried to fill it out? I got their contact information. Should I forward that to you? Should I have them fill out the QR code? What would you like to do?
If possible, I would like you to get them the QR code, but since you did put in the work. If you can't get them to the QR code, please send me an email listing their names. I have access to the parliamentarian email now. So yeah, feel free to email me their names and do try to get them to fill out the QR code since that's a important part of the experience. That would just be helpful for the feedback portion.
Senator Houston.
Will there be any opportunities this week to perhaps table in the UC?
I yield to Deputy Speaker Patricus.
We'll talk later.
There has to be a table reserved.
All right, so Deputy Speaker Patricus after the meeting. Senator Wheaton.
What is the penalty for senators if we are unable to complete the deadline?
That is an excellent question. If you did not speak to me about an alternative outreach event and complete it, like Senator Carter did with the involvement fair, or that's basically the only one since I think book club finishes after the deadline. Yeah, so unless you've speak to me about an alternative outreach event and complete it before the deadline, you will receive an unexcused absence, 3 of which will result in expulsion from the Senate.
Senator Schmidt.
This is probably a dumb question, but do you need the Connect to app to fill out the form? I honestly don't exactly know how Connect to works.
Not to fill out the form now. You just scan the QR code and it'll take you to the Connect page.
Deputy Speaker Patricus.
Are you able to post a QR code in the office?
Yes, I will be posting it in the office, and things to remind me, I will also be sending out an email to the whole Senate with the QR code in it, the parameters of the outreach event, and important dates in relation to the outreach event, just so you have that all in your email.
Deputy Speaker Patricus with a follow-up.
What happens if I don't do the outreach event? Is there something to meet with you, or?
No, I will only be meeting to gather feedback from people who complete the outreach event. Since the discussion will be on the floor of the Senate, you can still participate in that, but your feedback won't be used throughout the week to develop changes to the outreach event.
Senator Collins.
Just one point to clarify, when we do bring up the event to discuss it, it will be brought up as put under new business, right?
Yes.
So it can be all right.
Any other questions? Once, twice, seeing none, with that, we move to the report of Deputy Speaker Nicolette Patricus.
I'll come around and pass these out.
Happy Monday. Email me in advance if you plan to miss anything WSG related. That's any required event, Senate meetings, office hours, outreach events, committee meetings, Senate retreat, anything. Email me in advance, the WSG email. If you like Snapchat me, text me, see me, I'd be like, hey, great. Email me, because otherwise it won't count. We had a few people leave early last week, but I guess there's no penalty for that, right? I didn't say that. But if you, starting today, leave a meeting early without notifying me, or more than 10 minutes late, that counts as unexcused absence. All you gotta do is email me, hey, I have a strict deadline, I have to be out because of this. And I put section 3.3E of the standing rules, that I was pulling that from. Per the WSG standing rules, section 9.1A, the WSG office is only open between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday of each week. Due to that, office hours can only be submitted for that period. So like, you can be in the office 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. on like a Friday night. That just can't count as not office hours. So it has to be in those timeframes. When you're completing the form to track office hours, you're only required to submit one. You can't submit more than that. You can't do more but then not submit them, but you only have to do one. And you must do one. Tabling, starting today, tabling will count as an office hour. So if you're interested in doing that, email me. I'm going to reach out already about that. Email me. And I sent you all the academic calendar, the 26-27 one. It's in your email. If you didn't get that, let me know. I sent out calendar invites for the Vice Chancellor Student Affairs invites. You all got those last week at some point. We had one today. It was great. do more. Mr. Speaker, Radio.
Well, I've got a question. Is it true that generally speaking, the deputy speaker is a pretty calm and chilled gentleman who, if you're transparent enough with him, will work around if you have a hard out for a meeting or you couldn't make an office hour due to extenuating circumstances? Is it true that he'd be willing to accommodate that, generally speaking?
Yeah, you just gotta talk to me. I feel like I'm pretty, like, I guess easygoing. You can talk to me. Just, I need to hear from you beforehand, or after if it's like an emergency. But yeah.
Senator Wheatman.
What is the timeline looking like for the Senate retreat? Do we have a date yet?
I'll yield to the speaker.
It'll be the speaker's report.
Thank you.
Director Ballester.
Could you elaborate on the philosophy as to why an office hour would count after 5?
That's from the standing rules. I pulled it straight from there. If you have concerns, I would recommend you email the chair of CRC and maybe that can be put on the agenda. I'll yield to the speaker if he wants to add anything.
So that's a great answer in terms of anything in our standing rules, but we have to obey the standing rules. But more importantly, an office hour is designed so that when students are prevalently in the WCC or the University Center, they can come to our office. We're visible. That's why we've got those big glass windows so that folks can come in, tell us their concerns, and interact with shared governance, right? 3 words on the back of the wall there: advocate, collaborate, and elevate. If there's nobody in the UC at 9 o'clock, right, we're not doing any of those things very well, which means I think the true purpose of an office hour is to be there to, right, occasionally we just sit there and, maybe we're not working on anything, we're working on homework. The purpose is to be visible so that students can come in and do that. The way that's best done is between those general business hours, and the standing rules have deemed them as such. But if you have any concerns, sure, CRC will probably hear from you. Any other questions? Going once, going twice, seeing none. Back on my report.
I have a question.
Oh, President Harris.
Mine is absence related. Probably should have asked it to the deputy speaker, but I don't care. What happens to a person who's missed the last 80 meetings?
80?
Yeah.
They may have graduated, but had that.
But I'm a graduate.
Yeah, but had that not been the case, if you miss 3 meetings and they're unexcused, 4 meetings and they're unexcused, that's grounds for expulsion from the Senate. Senate leadership is pretty good about communicating unexcused absences, so
Follow-up question.
Yeah, please.
That's
all right.
Is
What's
there
up?
a retreat happening for any of these young senators here?
What was that?
Is there a retreat happening for any of these young senators here anytime in the distant future? They seem like they could use a hand with knowing some things.
Wow. We'll get to my report, and I plan on mentioning it.
It's not their fault.
And so, at the end of the week, generally the clerk sends out an agenda, or I'll send out the agenda. Sure. Right after that comes out the minutes.
Okay.
In the minutes will be my report. My report will reference the Senate retreat.
Okay, that's neat.
Any other questions before I get into my report? All right.
President.
Oh,
Usually reserved for after.
thank you, Mr. Parliamentarian. I forgot about that. All right. So this week I entered the search and screen lunches and forms. Folks, search and screens, lunches and forms. The book club is this week. I had to miss last week, but I will be attending it again. I can't wait. So I'm going to skip this one because maybe there will be questions about it afterwards. We'll see. I am in contact with SGA to try and get us on a Rock County meeting. So communications are going to go out this week. And I assume the other way after that, about the next 3 months, and we'll get the official Rock date, or about the next 3 weeks, we'll get the official Rock date scheduled likely sometime in there. It always happens to be soon enough. So I worked on external committees a bit. As we travel through external committees, new folks join the Senate. We will navigate, alternating those numbers to make sure not too many people are serving on too many external committees and everybody's kind of in the right place. So keep a look at the WSG official roster spreadsheet that is managed. It's a living document. If you have questions about internal committees, external committees, that's where we find them. I completed a few Senate one-on-ones last week. I intend to do a few more this week. And of course, the Senate retreat, I had a meeting with Jan last week about when exactly we should schedule it. Pre-Friday, and I have to have another meeting with the rest of Senate leadership. Pre-Friday, you will all be let know when and what the Senate retreat will look like and where it is and if there will be goodies there or what. So, if you have any questions about the Senate retreat or otherwise, I'm happy to hear about it. President Brett.
As it currently stands, we will not be catering the retreat.
That, one. Any other questions, Senator Bolt?
What is the SGA?
That's the Rock County government. So that's their Student Government Association. So we traditionally have one meeting over there in the spring semester. It used to be every semester. Sometimes it's spring semester, right? I mean, I'm guilty of advising again.
One annually.
Annually. Okay. Normally it's in the spring semester. A lot of times it's in May. Sometimes it's in late April. Sometimes it's in early April. We've got to figure out when the best time is. We go there. We get in our little main space. It's great. I haven't been there in 2 years. Speaker Emeritus Justin Westlick the last time I was there, so I can't wait. I think it'll be a good time. So keep a lookout in your email for them. For that, it'll also be a great time to navigate the shared government space. Talk to SGA about the problems they may be facing and how we can assist them. Any other questions? Senator Puzzle?
Historically speaking, what does the Senate retreat look like? Being a brand new guy here, no clue what that is.
Yeah, great question. So if you take a look in the standing rules, there's a few things we have to do on the Senate retreat. Then there's a few fun things we get to do on the Senate retreat. After all, it's our Senate retreat, and we get to kind of make it ours. Senate leadership tries to really tailor it to what the Senate needs. Because we've got so many new faces in the room, it'll probably be pretty procedurally heavy at some point, and make sure that everybody kind of has a good understanding of what Monday is between the hours of 7 to, as of recently, 10, but more so 9. More so 9 should look like and how we should operate in that space, what the quorum is, etc. But more importantly, it also allows us to meet each other. Our advisor really does a wonderful job of doing an icebreaker. Jan does a great job there. My freshman year, our spring retreat was right in this room. I remember we had faces and we had titles, and we scattered them all across the room, and they were all important faces that you didn't know, some of which were sitting in the gallery. So maybe expect a little match game where you create the chancellor's cabinet or whatnot. I'm sure that will be a good time. But keep a look out in your email, and we'll send all the relevant details, and we'll even keep some surprises out of that. Any other questions, Senator Cowell?
I'll just keep this brief. This will be all senators then will be expected to be?
Yeah, so it's a mandatory event in the standing rules. We got to give you 2 weeks notice. So like I said, it'll be before Friday, which means it will be sometime around, if I'm throwing a dartboard at a bullseye, sometime around March. No. Any other questions? From the gallery.
If I may, not necessarily towards you, but as the council as a whole, one thing I look at is I look across the room and I don't know what half of you do as a student. I don't know what your roles are. And I was wondering, what do you guys plan on doing now that I've mentioned this? How do you plan on to approach this problem and make yourself well known? Is there any ideas or plans for that, like to have a website directly for you guys that states what you do, what you plan to do, to kind of give the agenda to the student populace themselves so that they can further come to you guys for questions? Corey,
Senator Bull.
Yes, Senator Bull was the one that reached out to me when I was trying to raise awareness about certain concerns we had for food. But besides that, I did not know that any of you guys existed for me to come into contact with in order to progress this to a further standing. So is there any ideas and plans for that for the future to put on the board for improving so that the student populace knows about it? Maybe an app or something, or even just a website, so that way they know that you are here, what your plans are, and so we can further communicate as a student campus to you guys.
I'm so glad you brought that up, and those are amazing concerns. I really appreciate you sticking it. A lot of folks come to the gallery, they do the 3-minute thing. I really appreciate you being here the whole time. In terms of that advocacy thing, right? It's a lot of folks come up and stand at the podium and they talk about it. All of those things are super relevant concerns that are not only on the mind of, I wish they were on the minds of more students, clearly they're on your mind, but they're on the minds of plenty of Doug, myself, members of the E-Board, President Bradley. So I can tell you this, if you ever want a discussion item put on here for the Senate to talk about, my business card is downstairs, otherwise my email is WSG speaker. I'd love to talk about it. We can have one of those facilitated discussions about exactly that. You're welcome to contact any of your senators. You are their constituent. It is their job to serve you. If you want them to toss, if you feel more comfortable having them toss a discussion item on the agenda, have that happen. We have reports for a reason. Anyone who might have some relevance, whether it be communications with Director Linneman, outreach events with the parliamentarian, general WSG business, Doug and myself, you're welcome to email any of us and say, hey, what's going on with this? Or have a senator who serves you, you're their constituent, ask that question during our reports during one of the meetings. We'd love to have that as a wider discussion and put it in the minutes for the whole body. I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Vice President, I would ask the body too. I appreciate the comments from the gallery. If we could, the reason I brought up adding a discussion item to the agenda is I want to keep us on course tonight. And if we have this discussion later, I want it to be posted on the minutes. I want to give the clerk time to review it, etc. Those are the avenues that we'll take. But if you have anything relevant to that, we'll leave it until it's an item or during a report, an email, etc. Any other questions for the end of my report? Senator Collins.
This is just a point of information. Do we have a website for Whitewater Student Government?
We do have a website for Whitewater Student Government. Any questions for the end of my report? Going once. Going twice. Seeing none, with that, we're moving to unfinished business, starting with S-242505, creation and establishment of the Senate priorities process, in which I'd like to pass the gavel.
Pursuant to the WSG standing rules, we'll move right into discussion, of which I will ask the submitters if they would want to start. So, Senator Irwin.
Thank you. Obviously, starting since last week, Monday, and continuing on through the week, I have had the opportunity to hear a wide range of concerns about the piece of legislation. I will say that I am quite pleased to see that people are passionate about the topic, even if the passion is not necessarily in my favor. I always like to see people becoming energized in relation to any topic before the Senate. But I'd like to start out by trying to address some of those concerns that I have heard over the past week. Beginning with, and as I see it, there's essentially two piles of them, process and content. For the process, I do believe there were some issues with consultation before the legislation came to the floor of the Senate. However, I do not believe those were large enough to be a reason to vote against the legislation, and that now there has been plenty of opportunity to express concerns on the legislation. More importantly, I believe that the way the legislation was introduced on the floor of the Senate could have been clearer, and more importantly, could have been calmer. I think it escaped no one that tensions rose during the last meeting and throughout the past week have remained high, and for my part in creating those tensions, I apologize to the entire body. Moving on to the content. I strongly believe that this legislation is necessary and urgent for the body to continue to thrive and to operate on a level which has not previously been seen, at least not in recent years. This legislation provides a way for every senator to state what they think is the most important issue for the Senate to tackle, and then to narrow that down to the 4 issues that people believe are most important, most crucial for the Senate to address. And then have discussion groups, not discussion groups meant to address the issue, but ones that are meant to open up a wide, org-wide discussion about how we can solve that issue. And then from that discussion, ideas will flow, ideas which can in turn go through the process any idea would, contacting relevant stakeholders, speaking to experts on the issue, and in the end, finding a solution to it. It will coordinate the Senate's energies and give them a time and place where anyone interested in the issue can meet and discuss that specific issue, and then meet as long as it takes for a viable idea to come out of it. I think that this will result in the Senate making real and meaningful contributions to the student body every year. For example, of one of those issues, we heard last meeting about several concerns that the e-board had on the legislation. Many of them related to how the legislation and these discussion groups would affect their committees and their relationship with the Senate. Some of these I had heard about before, but I didn't truly comprehend the depth of them. Last week, I had the opportunity to meet with President Bradley, and he read to me some of the submissions, or some of the written out concerns that directors had submitted. And in them, I could hear their frustrations with certain problems within the org. I recognize those because I have also felt the same frustration within the org. And I had no idea how deep and impactful some of these issues were for the e-board, which is why if this legislation passes, my proposal, and one which I think will gain a lot of support, will be to address the concerns of the e-board and look for ways to ensure that they feel supported and valued by the org, which I think speaks to the ability of this legislation to spur on change. I have identified an issue, and now we need an org-wide discussion to figure out the best possible option to fix it, an option which will then go through the regular process, and before enacting real, meaningful change to help move this org forward. I will add, as a closing note, that I know several people have concerns about the specific wording of the legislation. One of the most potent complaints, or concerns I think, is that the discussion group does not go into enough detail about the non-action part of the discussion group. So I would be in favor of making a more detailed section on what exactly the discussion group is for. Of course, amendments are closed, but I know several members of this org are looking at further standing rules changes. So if you agree with the bulk of the bill and just want to make some specific changes to it, I would encourage you to pass the legislation and then meet with those senators to pursue further changes to the standing rules to perfect it. This legislation can accomplish a great deal of good if we give it the opportunity to. And if we don't, then the worst thing that will come out of it is that senators will have had some conversations with each other. So I strongly encourage all of you to vote aye on this legislation. Thank you.
Point of information.
I just have to go.
Sure. On the bill, Part 8.2, section, or E subsection C subsection 3I, I believe this was amended last meeting to a 3/4 vote. The bill still reflects a majority vote. I believe this concern should be, I just wanted to make this point clear so we can know what we're voting on tonight.
Yeah, this is the pre-amended version.
I'm sorry if I know, that's fine.
Amended version will be in the minutes.
Thank you.
But yes. I'll go to the other submitter. Oliver Wilson, you want to make a comment?
It's been quite a 2 weeks with this legislation. And I want to start by saying I believe really strongly in the legislation that we put together. I think there's a lot good in it. I think it was generated with really good intentions. I think all of those who have had conversations with Blake Rye about it, and the folks we've talked to about it, I don't think have missed those intentions. But what I'll say is, I have a large regret about the tension that seemed to escalate due to the legislation, and though I believe in it, I think it's a shame that it was received the way it was, and that's just the way legislative bodies work sometimes. That's governance, as Dr. Chenoweth said earlier tonight. And sometimes it's a little messy, and sometimes we don't prepare for those messy realities as well as we should, and this is me publicly taking some blame for that. So I'm sorry for any of the messes that may came with that. Despite my belief in the legislation, I want to add that there have been some whispers of a possible veto on the legislation, and it's been a while since the veto was brought up, you know, and those are conversations that they're not just relevant to us, they're relevant to lots of folks, and though I'm not sure this is the piece of legislation that would warrant it, I don't think it's warranted in general. I don't think it's warranted that we make that have to go anywhere past this body. And thus, I think with those things taken into account, with some of the miscalculations that I as a submitter may have fallen upon, with the meeting we had last week and the immediate elevation and tension that wasn't accounted for, and what I think passage of this bill would look like, even though I believe strongly that the legislation would serve to better the Senate, I would encourage all senators to vote nay tonight. And that's because I think we frequently preach that legislation is the last step. And another mistake that I think was made is that maybe we put the cart before the horse. There may be some conversations that still need to be had, and I think everyone I've spoke to feels interested in continuing conversations surrounding this issue. Senators, Ybor, Advisor Billigan, and Levin. And I think it's extremely relevant conversations, that the tension we feel is true and honest and should continue to be addressed. And I would ask that the Senate vote nay so that we can continue to address these issues through conversations. And if it makes the most sense for legislation to be brought back up, maybe we'll take that avenue another time, in another way.
President Emeritus Stavropoulos?
Okay, I just wanted to quickly throw something in there. I promise this isn't going to be quite as funny as the other outbursts that have been coming from the side of the room. But I just wanted to say, the only reason that I stayed here until 8:44 on a Monday, even though I've been out here for a while, is because I did take a look at this when it came out on the agenda. And I just wanted to warn you all from being myopic sometimes. It's good to take a look at things from the big picture, kind of like what Jordan was saying earlier. And what I mean by that is, essentially this is like creating a big one group meeting process to come up with a process, to come up with a one group meeting. It's very complicated for not a whole lot of reason, when the simplest way you could come up with a process to agenda set as a group is for the speaker to just add a section on the agenda to come up with some goals for the semester. And that doesn't require any legislation, and that's a pretty easy fix and a cool thing to do, because it gives you guys more reason to chat about student issues, and it doesn't just have to be prompted by people visiting, so that's cool that you did that. So just my thoughts is, don't overcomplicate government. It's already complicated. The easiest way to get to your goal is probably going to be the best, 9 times out of 10. Just my 2 cents. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. But before I go, you guys should make this kid a senator.
And actually,
Thanks for coming down.
Sorry, I'm going to go on shortly too, but I just want to say I want to echo his thoughts and whatnot there. I really do, having glanced through it myself there, I see where the passion comes from, the desire to do good and make sure that you're upholding what you want to do. But I believe I share his sentiments there, that whenever you create a more complicated process, it can discourage people from getting involved with that process. And while I hope to be wrong on that sense, I hear about all the compassionate things you all want to work on for each other, and I would hate for some of that to get lost in the red tape, if you will. So I just encourage you to consider that there. Thank you for having us.
I appreciate your kind words and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
President Bradley?
I will note that some of you might not know Davin and Dave, and they are emeritus members, but they are also current students in your constituents, just in case that will give you some context. They are currently grad students, which you represent, who live in town.
All right. Moving back into discussion, Senator Schmidt.
As one of the submitters of the bill, I would ask the body to vote nay. I think while the intentions are good, and I would even argue there are some decent parts of the legislation, as a whole, it just gets very convoluted, and the message gets so lost. Like, when reading through the second part, I had to ask someone, like, how do we get from, because there was like 3 different votes that were happening. They vote once, they vote again on priorities, and then if none of those votes have 2/3 or whatever it is, then there is no Senate priority. The entire thing just felt convoluted to me. And I feel like while there are some good ideas, it needs more time to be worked through.
Senator Collins?
I'll keep this short for the sake of the body. To put it bluntly, I did not, I had concerns with the way this bill was brought to the body, which has affected my perception of it. I have concerns about this would affect relations with the executive. I have concerns about parts in the bill, and the biggest concern I have is it feels like it's overly, for lack of a better word, I hope the body will excuse me, but bureaucratizing certain procedures, which I think need not be done. I think sometimes we put more buried walls of paperwork, we let less people get it.
Alrighty. Senator Weidman?
Sorry. So as we've all sat with this bill for a while, I've actually had it one of the earliest as I'm a member of the CRC, and one reason I wanted to bring it to the Senate floor is because I was a little confused, and I was interested on opinions and what it would bring to my overall thought of it, and especially after this last week and overhearing conversations and letting it sink in, I do also want to encourage a vote of nay, as I feel this bill has a lot of potential. And that what is presented in this legislation could be eventually a really great benefit to the Senate, but is in need of further development. And I think that the idea of this concept is very valid and explorable, but that further thought and development I do believe is really needed. It's going to bring not only more work to the directors. For an example, I know that Director of Academic Affairs, Abby Reiser, is constantly busy, not just with WSG, but with school. And as a senator who's currently overwhelmed, I know that in the fall, I'm really not going to want to or have the time for this. And if I'm not going to want to, why would a new senator want to? And that's going to, again, with that, draw them away from becoming a senator or draw them away from maintaining their seat in the Senate. And as our big goal is to build a Senate, I think this is a way of pushing it. I think if we want to create legislation, we can create legislation, but I don't think we need something like this to do so. Thank you.
I think I agree with a lot of the sentiment tonight. I think this is, when I first heard about this, Speaker Wilson and Parliamentarian Irwin came to me, kind of walked me through the process. My first thought was, let's just throw it on the agenda Monday. They believe it needs to be codified, which I think it needs to be written out. I feel like standing revisions are probably not the best way to go about it. But I still believe, I think, thoroughly in that this is a very long, very complicated process. I think utilizing avenues we already have, like such as the Senate Leadership Committee, would much better suit creating these. With our last discussion, we'll go to Senator Carter.
I call the question.
Cool. With that, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Point of order, I think someone objects to the call of question. Senator Bolt, did you have a discussion point?
I did, yes. I apologize. I was hoping to hear everybody's thoughts before presenting mine.
we do a vote on the call to question then if someone's.
Point of parliamentary inquiry. Does a call to the question require a second?
It does, yes.
Historically, a call to question has been a petition to the speaker to end discussion.
So you could object. All you have to do is object.
I objected.
All right.
Precedence of the body.
Okay.
In that
Well,
manner.
we're gonna do this. Motion has been made, and I guess we'll look for a second. Motion to end discussion. All right, Senator Punzel. We will move into a roll call vote then on ending discussion. I would encourage us to end discussion so we can get out here before 9. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on ending discussion here? A vote of aye is to end discussion. A vote of nay is to keep talking.
Senator Bolt,
Nay.
Senator Carter,
Aye.
Senator Irwin,
Nay.
Senator Gross,
Aye.
Senator Gutsaw,
Nay.
Senator Houston,
Aye.
Senator Kelvin,
Aye.
Senator Michael, Senator Miller,
Aye.
Senator Petrukas,
Aye.
Senator Punzel,
Aye.
Senator Purnell,
Aye.
Senator Schmidt,
Aye.
Senator Wheaton,
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
Nay.
With a vote of 11 to 4, discussion has ended. We will move into voting. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, please call the roll on voting. A vote of aye is to approve the legislation. A vote of nay is to deny it.
Senator Bolt,
Nay.
Senator Carter,
Nay.
Senator Irwin,
Aye.
Senator Gross,
Nay.
Senator Gutsaw,
Nay.
Senator Houston,
Nay.
Senator Kelvin,
Nay.
Senator Michael,
Aye.
Senator Miller,
Nay.
Senator Petrukas, Senator Punzel,
Nay.
Senator Purnell,
Nay.
Senator Schmidt,
Nay.
Senator Wheaton,
Nay.
Speaker Wilson.
Reserved nay.
With a vote of 2 to 13, with 2 ayes and 13 nays, the bill has failed. All right, I will pass the gavel back to Speaker Wilson.
Wonderful. And with that, we will move on to announcements. Are there any announcements? Really?
Just 2 quick things. Next week, if you want to live in anticipation for my report, we'll be talking about inclusive language and how to respect people's different identities and where those identities intersect. Hopefully, talking also about that in the retreat. If anyone needs to get a hold of me for any reason, you can email me directly at bilginj, or you can approach the SII desk, or you can put yourself on my calendar if you use Outlook Calendar. Happy to meet with any or all of you at any time.
Couple of reminders, book club tomorrow, 2 o'clock.
Wednesday.
No, Wednesday, book club Wednesday, open forum tomorrow, 1:30 to 2:30 in Timmerman, and 1 on Wednesday as well. Let me know if there's any further questions. Have a nice week.
Just a quick reminder, Academic Affairs Committee tomorrow, 8 a.m.
Let's avoid oofs when possible. Mr. Carter?
Yeah, so I have a fun opportunity for people in this room. On Thursday at 7 p.m., I'm happy to announce WSG will be collaborating with UC Live as one of the 3 organizations at the Minute to Win It social that we are having. We will be having chips and salsa there as well. We will be playing wacky games like Cup Stack, Yank Me, Junk in the Trunk, and that if you want to participate for our org, since y'all are collaborating and I'm showing a slide of WSG, 1 rep does have to be there. Please let me or Vice President Boehm know that you'll be the rep. Unfortunately, I can't be the rep because I'm hosting the event. So, And if you don't want to be the rep, it's free for all students. All you gotta do is show up. And the chips and salsa is free.
Point of clarification, what is yank me and junk in the trunk?
Yeah, so has anyone seen the
Seen what?
the minute to win it game where you stack cups and then you have index cards in between and then you have to pull the index cards? That's yank me. And then junk in the trunk is you have and then you have a tissue box tied to you and then you have to get the ping pong ball, shake it out of the Kleenex next thing and everything. So if you want more information, I can talk to you later. Also, there's prizes. Like I'll just spoil one, a Roku TV stick. So if y'all want to come out, it's free for all students. It's my favorite 4-letter F word.
Senator Gross?
International Student Services has 2 job positions available. There's a Global Ambassador position and International Student Services Student Assistant open. So if you if you have any interest in those, please come talk to me.
Parliamentarian Earl.
Because it's so important, I will say once again, this Sunday, midnight, is when your outreach event is due. It consists of having 10 students fill out these surveys. Just 10. Please complete it.
Deputy Speaker Patrice.
You will get an email from me if you have an unexcused absence when you get one. So if you're confused at how many unexcused absences you have, you can ask. Otherwise, go to your email and you will have gotten one from me if you have any. Otherwise, if you have any questions or comments about what happened tonight, tonight is comparatively short, but still a 2-hour meeting. So come talk to me after.
Looks like we're getting out of here early. Director Smith?
Next week, Wednesday, at 5 p.m., UHCS is hosting speaker Marley Liss, who was the first person ever to have their sexual assault case ended restorative justice. So if you'd like to attend that with me, feel free to join me.
Point of clarification, what's restorative justice?
Restorative justice is an approach to solving conflicts with, while avoiding punitive results. So for example, were someone to get drunk and trash a lobby of a residence hall, the response to that, rather than like a fine or sanctions, would be having them help clean up in the morning with the custodians.
Thank you very much. Either else, Senator Carter?
Don't forget that next week Friday is also the international dinner. If you live in the residence hall, it is free for all students. There are 70 tickets that first 70 get free tickets. If not, $5 for students, $10 for guests. I highly, highly recommend going. They have great food. Also, in the office, the menu's hung up, so if you want to see what's on the menu.
Any other announcements? Any announcements? Book club this week. Book club this week is huge. President Bradley, I'll use President Bradley at book club.
Look for the retreat date.
President Bradley?
Do we know if the belly dancer will be at the international dinner?
Belly, I believe, if you allow me to yield to Frank Bartlett's guest speaker session just a week ago, I believe he said the belly dancer is out. But you're welcome to contact him if you'd like more information on the belly dancer or anything else that may be at the international dinner. Deputy Speaker.
I believe Director Dallas Berry will be at the international dinner playing an instrument. So you can see that.
All right, and to end, we don't have any other announcements to end things. I know a lot of folks are interviewing, sending in applications to work at the UC, interviewing this week for peer mentorships. If that's something you're doing, best of luck. If you need any more information on those things, there are folks relevant in the room who might be able to help you out. So ask some questions. Parliamentarian Earl?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second? Second by Senator Carter. Wonderful. Can I get a voice vote? Exactly 9 o'clock with no objection. Not
About train. What's the payout?
What?
Under 912.
I had 850.
Hit the under.
And I always have a good line. And then I always expect this to be taken under.
I saw it, yes.
Yes, sir. But very wrong.
Who's gonna be there? More involved, just like someone. Yeah, I just.
And then
Did he run up?
gonna be gone for a week. Yeah, I know, I saw.
I made it up.
You did.
Yeah, man. So you're telling me it's on recording that you're playing Paul?
Sorry, I'm having issues with
So I literally couldn't do anything.